Hello everyone and welcome back to part 2 of how to set up your Twitch stream step-by-step guide for OBS. If you haven't checked out video 1, you should definitely go back and check that out first. It'll show you how to set up everything that you currently see on screen. But once you have all of this, you're almost ready to go live. There's only a couple of settings that we still need to figure out before we can hit that start streaming button. The majority of the settings that you have for OBS will work fine for you. There are a couple that we're going to have to do a little bit of research for. So let's start over here. We go to settings, and it's going to pop open your current settings. Everything that's in general is going to be okay. When we go to encoding, all of these are going to be selected by default depending on what your computer is doing. These are all fine by default, but what we really need to figure out is what your max bitrate and what your buffer size should be. These two are very important because these will determine basically how good your stream looks. And you don't want to just jam it to infinity because otherwise your stream is going to be lagging and crashing for everybody. So in order to find this out, we need to open a website called Open Broadcaster Software Estimator. So you can find that by going to the regular Open Broadcaster Software. I keep doing that. Broadcaster Software. There you go. And over here on the right, under the Help button, is going to be a link called the Estimator. So the Estimator is a page that will help you optimize your stream based on the kind of CPU card you have, the graphics card that you have, and the kind of game that you're playing and how fast your internet connection is. So to find these numbers, we're going to have to do a little bit of searching. It's going to ask us what kind of CPU we have. In order to find that out, we can open Documents, go to this PC, right-click Properties. These are going to be all the properties of my computer. So I can take a note here that the processor is the AMD FX 8-core processor. When I go back at the estimator and it asks me for which option I should choose, I can see that this is the AMD FX quad-core or higher. I have an 8-core, so this is the option for me. The kind of graphic card that I have. To find that out, we go back exactly where we started, Properties. Once again, these are the properties of my computer. Under Advanced System Settings, we can take a look at the hardware and hit Device Manager. So this is all the hardware of my computer. The one that I'm looking for is for the display adapters, which will tell me what my graphics card is like. I currently have an AMD Radeon R7 200 series, so I will jot that down, make a note of it. I can close out of all of this at this point. And from the drop-down button, I see that my option is currently right here. All right. What kind of game are you streaming? This is going to be the same for both you and I. We are playing a low motion static action game because Magic Online is turn by turn. So you want to select that. And now we have to tell the estimator how fast our upload speed is. So to find that out, we want to go to a website called speedtest.net. Speedtest.net is measuring how quickly you can upload and download things from the internet. So here I would hit begin test, but I already ran a test to save some time, and this is what I got. The number that you're looking for is over here on the right. It's the upload speed. So this is currently 12.22 megabytes per second. So I'm going to remember that and take it back to the OBS estimator. So it's 12.22 megabytes per second, but I see that it's asking me for kilobytes per second. To get around that, you can just use a kilobytes per second to megabits per second calculator. So kpbs to mbps calculator. And right here I get the option. So I know that my millibits per second is 12.22 and the kilobits per second are 12,220. I'm going to go ahead and copy that, take it back to the estimator, paste it right there, and then it's going to ask me for what my screen size is. So to find out what your screen size is, just go back to your desktop, right click, ask for display settings, and under advanced display settings, it's going to tell you what your current resolution is. So mine is 1920 by 1080. I'm going to remember that and take it back here. It's already selected by default. A lot of computers come at this resolution nowadays. So then you hit recommend settings and it's going to show you all the settings that you need for your specific broadcast. The numbers that we want to jot down here are the frames per second that it recommends and the max bitrate and buffer size that it recommends. So 3500 for bitrate for me, 3500 for buffer size for me, and 25 frames per second for me. So jot those down for yourself. And using that, we can go back to OBS. So now we know that the max bitrate for me is 3500, buffer size is 3500, so you just punch that in and say apply, and you go okay. So we can open settings again. Now we have our encoding correct. Now let's go take a look at broadcast settings. So the mode that you want is live stream. If you wanted to just record things on your computer, you could choose file output only, but obviously this is for streaming, so let's choose live stream. The streaming service, you can stream to a lot of different services. This is a tutorial for Twitch, obviously. So select Twitch, and then this is going to reset for me. It's asking me for my FMS URL. All this is trying to find out is what Twitch server should you be outputting information to. So if you take a look at this dropdown, you can see that there's a lot of Twitch servers around the world. There's two ways you can find out what server you should be using. You can eyeball it. So I live in Chicago, so I know that the US East Chicago server is a server for me. If you don't live near one of these major cities, then it's a little more difficult to know what's your latency between where you are and where that Twitch stream is. So an easy way to get around that is using a program called JTV Ping. It's a very small program. It runs very quickly. You can download it in 2 seconds. And JTV Ping right here. If you download it and run it, it's going to show you something like this. This is measuring the latency of where you are relative to the Twitch servers. So I can take a look at here, US East Chicago. I can see my latency here is very, very short. So this is the server for me. If I didn't live near Chicago, then the next best server for me would probably be the New York server. So you can use this to decide which server you should be using. Either option is fine. You are fine to choose. If you want to eyeball it, that's fine. If you want to be more precise, you can use JTV Ping. Either one is completely fine. So I'm going to choose the Chicago server for me. The next thing we have to fill out is what the stream key is. So to find out your stream key, you're going to have to go to Twitch. So let's go into my account, profile. Got to pop up in here a couple more options. Go to the dashboard. Over here, you see the option for stream key. So I'm going to select that. And if I click this, it's going to show me my stream key. Now you're going to get a warning from Twitch. The reason they do this is because anybody who has access to your stream key can output information to your Twitch channel. So you want to make sure that only you have access to this, or only people who you trust to stream from your channel. When you say you understand, it's going to show you your stream key. You can go ahead and save the stream key. So I'm going to copy it and take it back here. Going to paste it in there. And now we have the Twitch stream key there. If by any chance you happen to show your stream key on Twitch, it's not a big deal. If that does happen, you can always reset the key. So it's not a problem if you do happen to display it. But just keep it in mind, you do want to keep it safe, because it is the way that OBS connects to your actual account on Twitch. So now you have all your broadcast settings complete. The last thing we want to take a look at is your video settings. Everything here by default will be fine. The only thing we want to select here is the frames per second that you should be streaming at. Whatever number you got from the OBS estimator is what you want to use here. So I'm going to use 25 frames per second, and that's the option for me. Let's talk about the microphone and audio settings for a sec. It's this section down here that you see. This, as you can see, if I clap, it's picking up my microphone. So you want to make sure that this is enabled, otherwise it could look like this. This would mean that the microphone is disabled. You want it enabled. And you want to make sure that it's picking up the sound of your voice. This here controls the volume of how loud it's going to sound on the stream. So something you'll notice that I have here is my microphone settings all the way to the top, but my audio settings only at 50%. The reason I do this is because I want to make sure that when I'm playing music on stream, people can hear me over the sound of my audio. Because this controls the sound that the people hear it at. This is not necessarily the sound that you listen to, but rather the sound, the volume when it's being output through your stream. So you can, bump it as high or low as you want, but you just want to make sure that people are able to hear you above the sound of the music. The second thing you want to do is, if you do stream with music, you want to make sure you use headphones, because OBS outputs the sound. And if you're actually playing that out loud through your speakers, your microphone will also pick that up, which will create an echo, which obviously you want to avoid. So if you are listening to music on stream, make sure that you're wearing headphones. Lastly, if you listen to copyrighted music on stream, Twitch saves what you're doing on stream and saves it as playback so that people can go back and watch as a video even when you're not live. If you do listen to copyrighted music, Twitch will mute over the things that have copyrighted music on them. So if you don't want Twitch muting your playbacks, then it's better not to listen to copyrighted music on stream. That's just something you want to keep in mind. Otherwise, your playbacks will be muted. And that's all that we need to do in terms of sound settings. The last thing I wanted to talk about were some tips and tricks for your stream. So at this point, our stream is ready to go. You can stop the preview here. You could hit the start. You would have to stop the preview button, start streaming, and as soon as we do that, it's gonna ping Twitch, and it's gonna start broadcasting everything that you see right here with the correct settings to your Twitch page. So let's just talk real quick about some things that I think will make your life a little bit easier if you are streaming. The first one is, and I mentioned this in video number 1, having more than one monitor. You don't need anything fancy. It doesn't have to be an expensive monitor, but it'll make it a lot easier for you, especially if you want to have music, Skype, any other program, even a place to put OBS. I wouldn't have been able to really film this tutorial if I didn't have 2 monitors. So if you can get one, if you're thinking about taking streaming a little bit more seriously, I think it should be at the very top of your list. You can get some pretty cheap monitors and it'll make your streaming setup much easier. The second thing you want to keep in mind is that what you see here is what your viewers will see. So you just want to make sure that, you're mindful of what you're putting on camera. Don't say your password out loud. Don't type your password on screen. Obviously, like, this is fine because it's going to be asterisked, but you just want to be careful with, putting your credit card information to buy magic packs or anything like that. Since this is going to be broadcast for everybody to see, you just want to be a little bit careful. There is a little bit of a delay between what the viewer sees and what you're actually doing. The reason this happens is because it takes a little bit of time for Twitch to compress what's going on your screen, send it to the server, and then output to everybody who's watching. So even if you have an incredibly fast computer, even if you live right next to the Twitch server, there's still going to be that bit of a delay. So that's something to keep in mind, because what your chat will see is going to be a little bit behind in time relative to what you are seeing. There is a way for you to make this delay a little bit shorter, and that's the particular tip I wanted to give you. If we go back to your Twitch settings and we go to profile, if you hit this option here, you want to hit the settings button and you go to channel and videos. Down here, there's going to be an option that's called the stream delay. It's currently in beta. And there's an option called reduce delay, stream delay. So this does come at a cost. If you have viewers that are viewing from a particularly slow computer, it might mean, or if they have a very slow connection, they might see a little bit more buffering. But if you do enable this reduced stream delay setting, it will mean that the stream delay between what you're doing and what the Twitch viewer at home is watching is going to be a little bit reduced. And that's helpful because you want to have that immediate feedback, or you want your viewers to be able to see that you're interacting to the choices that they're making during the draft, or like the advice that they're giving you during the game. The last piece of advice is in actual Magic Online itself. So I'm logging into my account. So Magic Online has sounds that you can hear when you play, and it also has animations that show up when, like, foil treatment or summoning sickness animations show up on your camera. When you're streaming, it eats up a lot of your processing power, so you want to make sure that things are running pretty smoothly. And having the animations, the sounds and things like that can sometimes be distracting and actually make your computer run a little bit slower. So something I recommend is turning off the sounds and the animations. And the way you do that is go to account. And here they're going to show up. By default, this would usually be here set at like 50. And these would be turned on. See, that's the sound. And these would be turned on. This is what the foil treatment looks like. and that's how summoning sickness looks like. So I recommend that you just disable, and turn off all your sounds. And that will make it so that your program will run a little bit better, and it won't make things lag as much. And that's pretty much it. After this, you are ready to start streaming. You know, the last thing that I can really say to you is just make sure that you have fun with it. Stream decks that you like, stream formats that you like, because ultimately this is meant to be fun for you. When you first start out, there's not going to be a ton of people watching the stream, so you just want to make sure that you're doing it because you enjoy it, because you like interacting with the chat, because you're having fun. And the more fun that you have yourself doing this, the more fun it's going to be for the viewer at home. So just, you know, take it one day at a time, take it one stream at a time, and make sure that you're having fun with whatever it is that you're doing. So if you have any other questions, if you have anything else that you would like to learn about streaming, I would love to hear it in the comments. And if this was useful for you, let me know. I love hearing feedback from people. I love to hear that this was helpful in setting somebody up to start streaming. So let me know in the comments, and let me know if there's anything else you would like to learn when it comes to streaming. Hopefully I'll see you around on Twitch.